Hey everyone, it's Chrono from the Headphone Show. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very special headphone, the ZMF Verite Closed. Let's check it out. Okay, so the Verite Closed is the most recent addition to ZMF's collection, and it's a handcrafted closed-back dynamic driver headphone. If one were to look at it as part of a traditional manufacturer's lineup, the Verite Closed, alongside the Verite Open, would technically be the flagship headphone for ZMF. However, in the context of ZMF's artisanal lineup, where each headphone is meant to deliver a unique sonic experience, the Verite Closed is intended to be the fastest, most neutral, and most isolating headphone that they offer. In case you haven't heard about them, or like me, you're new to ZMF, they're a one-of-a-kind headphone manufacturer based near Chicago, Illinois in the United States. Originally, ZMF focused on making elaborate modifications with wooden cups to popular headphones like the planar magnetic Fostex T50RP. Over time though, they began to develop their own headphone designs and proprietary driver technologies to make for special listening experiences that blend art and sound. Of course, that is a very simplified and brief overview of ZMF's history. So if you want to learn more about them, I highly encourage you to check out their website, which shares a lot more of their story. Starting off with accessories, the Verite Closed does indeed include a very nice suite of accessories, the first of which is, depending on your choice, either a tough hardshell Seahorse 430 case or a ZMF wood case. Along with the Verite Closed, you'll also be receiving two sets of pads, which by default are ZMF's Auteur pads and Universe pads, although you can change the secondary pad option when placing your order. And then, as for the included cable, the Verite Closed comes with ZMF's OFC cable in your preferred length and amp side termination. Lastly, the Verite Closed will include a ZMF cleaning cloth as well as a handwritten owner's card with the headphone serial number. Moving on to build and comfort, the Verite Closed, like all other ZMF headphones, displays an incredible level of craftsmanship that blends premium materials and exotic woods in a visually striking and heirloom quality headphone. With the exception of the cup routing, which is done by CNC machines for consistency, ZMF headphones are almost entirely hand-built. From sanding and finishing to acoustic tuning and final QC inspections, all ZMF headphones are carefully assembled and examined by their workshop's technicians. Naturally, these are labor-intensive processes, but the result is simply spectacular, as they make for some of the world's most solid-feeling, luxurious, and beautiful headphones. Just as impressive as their build, the Verite Closed comfort is almost the best I've experienced in a headphone thus far. Considering that it's a large headphone of which build is composed almost entirely out of metal and wood, I was really surprised by how light it felt when wearing it. It may come in at around the 450 gram mark, but the headband's comfort strap in combination with the pads distributed the weight perfectly, which made them feel almost as light as headphones like the HD600, which weigh only about 260 grams. The pads themselves are extremely comfortable, as they were very spacious on the inside and they did a great job at relieving any sort of clamp force. Overall, if not for the HD100S, I'd say that this is the most comfortable headphone I've personally worn. Even after listening to the Verite Closed daily for the past month in day-long listening sessions, they've never caused me any fatigue, nor had they had me readjust the fit periodically. They're just a very easy headphone to wear. Okay, so now talking about sound, like the open back Verite, the Verite Closed is utilizing ZMF's proprietary 20% beryllium coated polyethylene naphthalate driver, which it combines with the wood as well as cork and hand-rolled polyester damping to create a closed back listening experience that is characterized by fast, snappy transients and natural decay. Now, it's very important to mention that the tonality and presentation of the Verite Closed will change drastically depending on the pads that you use. As some of you may already know, ZMF offers a whole slew of pads for you to really hone in and customize the sound of your ZMF headphone. And they all offer a very different, unique experience depending on the pad roll that you use. So, in my time with the Verite Closed, I actually got to try out 5 different sets of pads. However, for this video, I'll only be focusing on the Auteur lambskin pads, as I believe that those are the stock pads that come pre-installed if you don't ask for any sort of different pad options. If you want to learn more about the different pad rolls, I'll be leaving 2 different links in the description down below. So the first one will be to the written version of this review, which goes into a lot more detail about how the 5 different pads that I tried affected the sound of my Verite close and how they changed some of these sonic characteristics. And then the second link will be to the pad guide available on ZMF's website, which has a lot of information about what pads they recommend for their different headphone models, as well as what things like the different skin materials for the pads do for sound, as well as things like perforations. Additionally, I wanted to note that the different wood used for the cups won't have a noticeable or significant change in the headphone's tonality and timbre. The only significant changes that will likely be apparent is the decay and impact of the headphone. Softer woods like the stock Monkey Pod will have longer decay and more natural resonances, whereas denser woods like the Camphor Burl reviewed here will have shorter decay and more impact. Okay, so now to actually talk about sound. When I first sat down to listen to the Verite closed, I was immediately taken aback by its exciting, musical, and organic presentation. Its bass was incredibly nimble and impactful, whilst its mid-range had a good balance that possessed a heightened sense of tonal richness. Then there were the highs, which were present with brilliance, plenty of sparkle, and nice air qualities. It was just slightly warm, but I would describe its overall tonal balance as being a pretty neutral one, with a response that, to me, sounded mostly linear and exceptionally natural. As always, we'll start off by discussing the headphone's tonality, and first up is the bass. So the Verite closed bass is tight, it's exciting, and it's very capable when texturing low tones. Thanks to its really good bass extension, it's easily able to reach all the way down to 20 Hz with virtually no roll-off, or at least none that I could hear. And it just gives the bass region a great sense of depth that allows it to really surface the rumble of those low sub-bass frequencies. For my taste and preferences, I find that the bass on the Verite Close, it's at just the right level, as it has a good level of presence. It also has a satisfying punchiness to it that never felt overbearing, and it also added a nice but subtle touch of warmth. So altogether, when you take its tuneful balance and nimbleness, the bass response here feels precise. It's clean throughout, and it's adept at nuancing low tones in a manner that faithfully reproduces things like the bloom of acoustic guitar strings, the growl of brass instruments, and the deep body of organs. Moving along to the mids, I think that the mid-range is undoubtedly my favorite part of the Verite Close, as an extremely natural timbre, and its tuning really gives midtones a robust body that possesses an unparalleled tonal density. The lower mids at around 250 to 350 Hz seem to be just slightly elevated, and it also sounded to me as though there was a small emphasis at around 2.5K. So the resulting effect from these two elevations is a very tasteful one, as fundamental tones for vocals and instruments come through with an enhanced richness that makes them feel empowered, making vocals have a fuller and more expressive body, whilst electric guitars roar and the sonorous bite of brass instruments is beautifully portrayed. Its overall balance to me feels accurate and faithful to the recordings that I listened to. Add to that its spectacular tonal weight, and the Verite Closed, more than other headphones that I listened to, I feel really captures the essence and energy of the performances it reproduces. For the last section of tonality, we have the highs, and before actually listening to the Verite Closed, I expected it to be a fairly dark and warm sounding headphone in the treble range. However, this didn't turn out to be the case at all. In the highs, the Verite Close is energetic, with a generally good balance that delivers plenty of brilliance in the lower treble, an adequate amount of sparkle between 8 to 10K, and outstanding upper treble extension with nice air qualities above 10K. Of all the closed-back headphones I've listened to recently, I think that this is the one with the best balance, with a natural level of energy that not only properly represents overtones or harmonics, but it also likely contributes to the Verite Closed feeling as open sounding as it does. There is one thing I would like to mention for the treble though, which is a small elevation at around 5.5K. It varies per pad and fit, but it's still a little bit forward by maybe 2 to 3 dB, which adds just a little bit of sibilance in the lower treble. If you're not treble sensitive like me, then I don't think you'll really have any issues with the treble region on the Verite closed. And for me personally, that bump at 5.5K was only really noticeable when listening to music that relied heavily on boosting the treble to bring vocals forward in the mix. Moving on from tonality to technical performance, let's begin by talking about resolution. For detail retrieval and sense of clarity, the Verite Close offers superb performance. Throughout all registers of the frequency response, it provides tones with a solid and cohesive structure that paints a clear and believable image of the music. For internal resolution, the Verite Close is easily up there with some of the best that I've heard, as I think that it matches or maybe even surpasses the level of transparency that my HD100S can achieve. So needless to say, it's a very resolving headphone, especially when you consider that it's a closeback. Now, for soundstage imaging and layering, it may not be as wide sounding as an HD820, but the Verite Close is a very spacious and open sounding headphone that's still very capable when it comes to creating a soundscape with a good sense of distance. For soundstage width, I'd compare it roughly to an LCD2 or DT1990 Pro. For imaging, it does a great job at distinguishing the directionality and positioning of sound, and it does it very accurately. But then the Verite Close also has this strange but really enjoyable 3D sort of quality to its imaging, and it's unlike that of any other headphone that I've listened to thus far. The only way I could really describe it is that it adds this sort of holographic quality to the tracks that it plays, and I feel like it really enhances the ambience of the soundscape, and it gives instruments a more realistic presence. Lastly, for spatial qualities, there is the Verite Close fantastic instrument separation, which lends instruments and vocals a distinct place of their own in the mix by keeping them properly layered in space, even when reproducing complex musical passages. Lastly, for technical performance, we have dynamics, and this is a category where the Verite Close definitely excels, as in the low notes it provides a satisfying physical impact that conveys a very strong sense of punch and slam, which adds a kick in things like bass drums or the undertone bloom of strung instruments. Then, in the top end, the Verite Close faithfully recreates the intensity with which instruments are played. The pluck of acoustic guitar strings has a weighty snap to it, whereas pianos and xylophones have a nuanced attack that accurately depicts the pressure with which their keys are struck. So the Verite Close, with its excursive capabilities in tandem with its fast transients, makes for a very engaging and more lifelike listening experience. Because it's a closed back headphone, and since it was one of ZMF's design goals to make it their most isolating headphone, I thought it'd be adequate to talk about the Verite Close sound isolation. And well, of all the high-end closed back headphones that I've listened to recently, so the Radians, the Stellia, and the HD820, also the Aeon 2 closed, the Verite Close is easily the most sound isolating of all. So it does a very good job at passively blocking out sound, and I can have them on without any music playing, and if I speak, my voice is significantly quieter and I have to keep myself from yelling. And things like when I use them a lot, obviously at my desk, when I'm playing games and stuff, I can't hear my keyboard, I can't hear my computer fans revving up or anything like that. And it also does a very good job at keeping sound in, so I actually listen to music fairly loud, and I haven't gotten any complaints from anybody on Discord about my music leaking into the microphone, which is actually, the microphone usually, it's behind me right now, but it's usually very close to me when when I'm actually facing my monitor. So yeah, as far as sound isolation goes, it's great. So as a headphone, it's a little bit on the larger side, but I think it could make for a good office headphone. It's definitely great for desk use. Before heading into the conclusion of this video, I just wanted to quickly touch up on EQ. The Verite Close is a great sounding headphone out of the box. It has a very good balance, and I never really felt like it needed EQ regardless of which pad set I used. However, I always like bringing headphones just a little bit closer to my personal preference via the use of EQ. Now, for the Verite Close, I've actually made an individual EQ profile for each pad roll that I tried, because they each have their own unique characteristics, but I don't want to worry about certain things like, one pad being just a little bit more forward or something like that at 5.5K. So if you want to try out the presets I've made for the different pads I tried on the Verite Close, there's going to be a link in the description down below to a post I've made on the Headphones community forums, which has all my EQ profiles. Okay, so now to wrap up this review, this was my first experience with a ZMF headphone, and aside from knowing that it would look pretty, I really didn't know what to expect. What I can say now though, after many hours of listening, is that of all the headphones that I've tried, the Verite Closed is my personal favorite. Like all other headphones, no, it's not perfect. However, the Verite Closed does a lot of things really well. From its unique, enjoyable, customizable, and versatile sonic experience to its superb comfort and sturdy premium build, the ZMF Verite Closed is a marvelous design feat that not only shows the true potential of closed-back headphones, but also achieves a near-perfect marriage between art and sound. Anyways, that is all for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video or found it useful. If you did, do consider dropping a like. If you want to learn more about the Verite Closed or many other headphones, I highly encourage you to check out the review section available on headphones.com. For more headphone and audio content, stay tuned by subscribing to the Headphone Show and ringing the notification bell. Until next time, this is Chrono signing off.